Hello, Abigail here with the Tarotscopes for Gemini season, Aquarius sun, moon, and rising. My Aquarians, this Gemini season, your fellow air sign season, is very transitory. We have all the planets shifting and moving. Two of the major planetary shifts happening in 2025 happen in Gemini season. The final one is in Cancer season, and that is the gosh words. That is Uranus entering into Gemini. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go through kind of the chronological shifts for this, and we'll go through your tarot and your archetype card and things like that. But yeah, it's a big deal. Saturn goes into Aries, Jupiter goes into Cancer. The cardinal axis is getting hit, not technically in a bad way. Jupiter in Cancer is really beautiful, but it is going to be, especially with that square activated, it is going to be intense at least up until Saturn stations retrograde and goes back into Pisces until 2026. So be prepared for that. If you have cardinal placements, definitely check in on those. Also, because this season is a air sign, every single planet is going to be pinging off of that Pluto and Aquarius. So this is a really important moment for you because if it's trining Pluto, it is also trining whatever Aquarius placements and planets you have. So just be aware, know that this is an activating season for you. And let's get into the astrology. So starting on May 24th, this is kind of where the big stuff starts to happen. Saturn enters into Aries. It goes straight into its kind of association with Neptune. We don't get the exact conjunction until February 20th, I think it is, of 2026. But this Saturn transit in Aries is going to be very different because it is besties with Neptune for a majority of it. So just know that while this is, still a Saturn in Aries, this is a Saturn in Aries that is close to Neptune. And so it really does feel as though there's this push and pull between the boundarylessness of Neptune and the boundariness of Saturn, which we've already experienced to a certain degree with Saturn being adjacent to Neptune this whole time in Pisces. But now we're in a fire sign. So things are going to seem more obvious and you're going to feel initiation very quickly. Whereas in Pisces, sometimes it's kind of hard to find the edges of things. Then the very next day, Mercury goes into Gemini. We love this. This is a domicile Mercury. This means that the planet is in its home sign. Mercury rules Gemini. And it's a very happy place. However, when Mercury is not tethered by a retrograde, it moves really quickly. So we're going to be into a different sign by the time we get out of Gemini season. Then the day after, we have the Gemini new moon, which is very spicy, has interactions with that Saturn and Neptune. It also has that trine with Pluto, but it is ruled by domicile Mercury. So the intensity is supported by a very happy, highly functioning Mercury. So while I know it's going to be intense and a lot, it is helpful. And we have something similar happening with the Sagittarius full moon as well. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Also important to note this season, things are happening in chunks. So we get these 3 days in May, and then we're going to have like 5 days in June where a bunch of stuff happens. So moving into June on the 6th, we end up having Venus entering into Taurus, which is another domicile placement. So very happy about that. It's finally out of the sign it retrograded in. It's been out of the post shadow for a minute, but we are like, it's a fully new page. We're in the sign that Venus rules. Venus is very happy here. It's a moment to really dig into Venusian topics and things that Venus likes, like pleasure and rest and, taking things slowly, not because you want to move slowly, but because there is pleasure in the progression of time when you kind of revel in it. So yeah, that's really exciting. I'm happy for it. Then on the 8th, Mercury goes into Cancer. So we get like 2 days, roughly 2 days of domicile, Venus and Mercury, and then Mercury is off into Cancer. I like Cancer in water signs. Is not Cancer in water signs, Jesus. Mercury in water signs. It is not the most functional Mercury in a water sign, especially Pisces, where it's detriment and fall. But the beauty of water sign Mercury moments is poetry and using images instead of words and shifting through a variety of mediums that might not appear to be the most communicative but have the deepest emotional impact. This is also a great time to really express your feelings, and to be soft and tender with your words, and to be really conscious um, about how you use them and letting things slow down a little bit. Think about it like going down a lazy river a little bit. And it's going to be a big shift because we're coming out of Mercury in Gemini, where it's like go, 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 complex thoughts, lots of communication, switching ideas and ideals. Um, but enjoy it for what it is. It is really beautiful and really nice. Like I said, not technically the most highest functioning, but I don't think we need to function highly sometimes when it's about our feelings. We just need to express what they are. This also, because Mercury rules commerce and stuff, this also goes into more like connecting with people as a means of production versus um, getting stuff done. So this is about building connections, finding the people you care about. If you sell something, Mercury in Cancer is a great time to find your people. It's like the like-minded people come in Mercury in Cancer. It's also a great time to find people who are patrons. So yeah, it's a really great transit. It's just not often considered great because it's not fast-paced, high-functioning. And then on the 9th, we get Jupiter in Cancer, which is one of the like favorite transits of the season for astrologers because this year's a lot. And Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. So we get a beautiful exalted Jupiter for the next 12 months because Jupiter has a 12-month cycle. It will be shifting into another sign, I want to say mid-June next year. So we get a full 12 months of this beautiful transit. Absolutely. All of these things I'm talking about, check them out in your chart. And then we go to that full moon Sagittarius that is square the nodes. And full moons, especially lunar moments, square the nodes, feel very much like an eclipse. But we have this beautiful exalted Jupiter freshly minted. So enjoy that. It's going to be really nice. And then we get Mars and Virgo on the 17th, which I don't hate it. It's not a comfortable placement, but it is the ability to really dig into the details and get stuff done. Can it be hypercritical? Can it be a little bit mean sometimes? Yes. A lot of the people I know who have Mars in Virgo can be a little pointed with their desires and words and really personal. But in a positive light, it is this ability to really like jump into the details and make stuff happen with the information that you get. All right, so that is the kind of transits of the season. I know it's kind of long, but there's a lot going on, and I think you need to know. But I really love your archetype card. You get the crone. And I love the crone because it's a part of this kind of trifecta, which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't. It's really gendered, but mother, maiden, crone. I also hate the whole maiden thing. It always gets weirdly sexualized. And like, I love pleasurable, fun, spicy things, but I don't like it in the context of glorifying innocence because you can take advantage of it. But with the crone, I like to kind of degender it and neutralize it into an entity of power. And the crone does not care. The crone has lived long enough not to care. The crone does what the crone wants. The crone isn't bothered by like the opinions of a bunch of clamoring people. The crone dresses how they want. The crone talks how they want. The crone isn't worried if they look old. They don't give a damn if their hair's brushed. The crone is pure power and it doesn't need outward trappings to be respected and honored and terrifying. You can walk around in a cozy cloak with wrinkles and wild hair, and it is what it is. And the words of other people only mean something if they don't shut up. So this is a season for releasing yourself from outward trappings, from, obviously you can look whatever way you want, but releasing yourself from the burden of care of other people's opinions, of not giving a damn what someone thinks of you or how they perceive you, of when someone is like, I don't like that behavior or that's not ladylike, you go, LOL, that's not my goal or prerogative in life. So that's not something that really bothers me. It's really about stepping into your power. It's also something I've heard, and I do think our generation is kind of walking it back to a younger age, which I love. But that whole concept of like once you hit a certain age, you don't care anymore. I still care a little bit, but I think I'm much more who gives a damn than a lot of people who are my age when they were growing up. A lot of the people I was around, specifically, the women in my life, were very concerned about aging, very upset about getting older. And honestly, I don't care. It is what it is. It's an honor to get older. Not many people get to make it. It's honestly kind of fun. You get to like watch your body transform into something really, it's like when you find an antique. And like, yeah, you could see this thing when it's new and it was probably pretty impressive. But there's like the tarnish and the dents and the bumps and all these little beautiful things that make it truly individual. Um, and so in this season, in Gemini season, as we're kind of shedding our skin at lightning pace as the planets just jump into different zodiac signs, I encourage you to not give a damn anymore, to wear what you want, to dress as you please, to speak as you please. I only code switch when I'm working with children. Like, I will curse like a sailor otherwise. Um, and I do work with children. So, I only do that for kiddos. I don't switch up what I talk about with adults. I am who I am. I don't hide my tats. I don't have a ton of them, but the goal is to get a ton of them. I told my partner by the time I'm 60, it's neck to ankle, if not further up and further down. So yeah, this is the time. Also, speaking of tattoos, maybe it's time to get one. Maybe it is that first step to not care anymore. I love tattoos. They are fun and beautiful, and it feels like I'm putting art on my body, which as a Taurus, I love. And then our next card is the Queen of Wands, which I really think it ties into that crone archetype. It is the not caring. This is also keeping your passions safe. It's not that you care what people think, it's that you don't want people to meddle in your plans and hopes and dreams. You don't need outside opinion. You don't want energy coming against you. So keep your passions close to your chest. If you have a plan, spring it on them. Don't give people a heads up. Do what you want to do, and they can find out later, which is how I do a lot of stuff. Although I'll say it's not intentional. I just forget that I haven't told people. So do what you want to do. Dig into your passions, really connect with what you desire and where you want to take it. And don't go asking for opinions. This is your life. Do what you want. Now, if you know someone who has expertise, that's a different story. Someone who can give you information. But general public critique, don't put yourself through that. You're going to do it anyway. So why bring them to the table if if it's not going to be productive? Excuse me. So yeah, embody that, really tap in. If you've been feeling down or struggling through the first part of this year, it is that time to reaffirm your passions. It's that time to reconnect with your true desires and to also let go of some of the feelings that you might have had around things not going quickly enough or not having accomplished enough. That's just not true. Every Aquarian I know has done a crazy amount of work. It is that Saturn ruled energy. If things haven't been working out, it's just the energy of the season. Gemini season is going to be not technically us working, but the universe is going to be just pushing things through. So, realize that this is happening. Then we do have a Three of Swords. I don't think we're quite in go mode. That is partially because of these shifts. When I see really heightened astrology, and there's a lot of stuff going on in between, obviously, I'm not including every aspect in this. It's time to let the universe take the wheel. And this is very much what this year has been about. The eclipse season with the retrogrades, that was all just the universe being like, I'll take this, and us seeing where it goes. And so I would encourage you to do that because you do have some inner work. There's also another card that is inner worky. We've got this Three of Swords. It is time to kind of look at our wounds, take care of ourselves, listen to our bodies, connect with healing. And I want to be very clear when I talk about healing, I'm not talking about becoming healed. Some of us have wounds too deep to be healed in this lifetime, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not a moral failing. You have been hurt so badly that it's just not going to, it has changed the way your brain works, and that's not going to change in a lifetime, especially when that is done to you at a very young age where your brain is very malleable. But it is about checking in and seeing where you can tend to certain things and take care of yourself better. And also to ask yourself, where has my trauma caused me to abandon my care? Where am I not paying attention to my needs? Where am I pushing myself past the point, a healthy point of like effort? I am a firm believer that if you get pushed back enough, it's a call to go a different direction. And not everyone agrees with that. a lot of people like the struggling, thing where like people struggle and struggle and struggle and finally make it 10 years later. Maybe that's for you. I've actually done that. And then I realized I didn't want to do the thing that I'd been pushing for, and that it was more about the stuff that thing taught me, and less about the destination, which is the story of my life. So, where have you been pushing yourself? Where can you release? What is the best life and what are the best dreams for you based on your capacity? Which I do think is actually going to be a big theme for Saturn and Aries conjunct Neptune, is capacity and expansion and some similar stuff to what we were looking at in Pisces, but it's going to be a lot more pointy because Mars is in rulership. And then we have this, because I really love, there's a nice play in these cards of kind of like things to kind of sit with and things to kind of celebrate. We do have a Nine of Cups. You have accomplished so much, and you are going to continue to accomplish more. It feels like Gemini season is bringing you some bounty and abundance and beauty. And so, don't miss it. Um, a lot of times these minor arcana cards are like the little things that you maybe have dreamed of for a long time, but because like capitalism and life, you push past it being like, well, I didn't get the big thing yet. But these little moments are moments where we give the universe a little like high five and are like, hey, this is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. I tell my clients all the time, a lot of us have to rework our energy to affirm the things that we actually want because of the way we were raised and because of the things that we were told that just aren't true about ourselves. So when you get these moments of affirmation, no matter how small, really add them to your list of cups. Put them on this wall of beautiful, interchangeable energy and be like, yes, these types of victories, this type of success, this type of joy, I really love it. Can I have more? And I think on top of that, kind of learning to affirm the things that you want, there's also a measure that you do have a lovely wall of nine cups. And I think because you tend to do things outside of the box, there isn't a societal high five, check mark, kudos to you. So there's no external validation. So you have to come internally and give that to yourself and have the people that are close to you really care about you and to do that for you. So don't diminish your accomplishments just because there are people who have different beliefs and values that don't value what you've done. What you've done is very important. And then we have the lovely Six of Cups, and we have to go down memory lane. Whenever I see this, we have to go back. I think it has a lot to do with this, about that reprogramming and rewiring what success, what joy, what accomplishments feels like. It also is a return to a simpler form of celebration. I don't know if you were like this, but as a kid, there were some times when I was like, geez, I am pretty cool. And I think that type of energy of recognizing your own magic and the wonder that you bring to the world um, is important. And I know not everyone experiences this, but I was definitely the kid who would like look in the mirror looking absolutely chaotic and insane with like a hair, like a headband scrunched up with my hair spiked in like a trashy dress up outfit, being like, wow, hottest thing I've ever seen. How is the world resisting this charisma and beauty? And that's something I think you could do to infuse into your life, this beautiful confidence and belief in self that some children have, um, and that the blindness of youth allows us to participate in. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It is about coming back to yourself, to your confidence. And some of you may not have experienced this because of pressure really, really young, where people and adults were already putting like really unexpected and untenable, demands on you. But it's time to go back to kind of pick apart this. I think this also has a lot to do with that Three of Swords. We have to go down memory lane to kind of figure out what's going on and where things are going. And then last but not least, I really love this. It feels like a lot of wonderful things are happening in this season, and you're actually doing a lot of great healing work and a great level of understanding of self. And then we have this lovely Four of Wands. And this Four of Wands is about creating home and a safe space, which is what all of this is. That crone is about coming home to self. The Queen of Wands is about that security in your own passions. The Three of Swords is about creating a space that is safe for all of you. And that includes the parts that aren't yours innately that have been laid on you that you cannot get rid of, because that is just how trauma works. Um, and that Nine of Cups is like where what you feel in this space, and that Six of Cups is all of those experiences that have brought you to the point of curating a safe space for yourself. So if you do anything this season, curate safety and joy and happiness, and get rid of stuff that you don't like. You're an adult. If you don't like something, don't have it in your house. You don't need to do things in a standard way. You don't need to have the things everyone else needs. You need to have the stuff that you need. And that is the Four of Wands. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for Gemini season. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. Also, pop any comments down below. I'd love to interact and engage. And I'll see you in a different space and time. Blessed Gemini season.